Hello and welcome to Astro Mingle, the spiritual podcast that mingles with the talented light workers and innovative influencers of our time. We're starting a new era here on Earth, and we're starting a new era here with Josh Siegel. We are doing this new show based on relationships. We're not going to tell you what the working title is, but we've been working this show for a few months now. Welcome my co-host tonight, Josh Siegel. Hi, Josh.
Hey, glad to be back.
Yeah, I am too. It's been a while. Like we had some karma happen
Oh, yeah.
to each. Oh, yeah. Sorry, bring up
Well,
the back.
well, we talked. Well, interestingly enough, we talked about that in our last show. You had
Yeah,
asked me about, what the numerological influences were for this year
the 9 year.
in the
Yeah.
9 year, and it's already we're off. I mean, we're off to a start. I mean, let's just say just on many different fronts. But people, of course, people in my own life, right? People I know, my own life. I just moved,
Mm-hmm.
as I just told you. So it's a
Yeah.
big change for me. But which, by the way, happens in 9 cycles a lot. If you're in a personal 9 cycle, it's one of the classic indicators of a 9 cycle is a move or a completion in your life. But
To
but we're also going through some growing pains, right?
Oh yeah. Some graduation pains. I think the universe is calling for us to step into our best self. I guess is the best way to put it. And I
Yeah,
say best from the perspective of our spiritual knowledge. Neptune has already shown us all the lessons, so there's nothing else to learn. There's no more shadow to hide. There's no more hiding dark version of you. There's no more curious if you'll find a new talent. You know it all pretty much, and all the karma's on the table. So if people continue the karma, it's their fault now basically. And we have Neptune going into Aries, and we have Saturn going to Aries. And Aries, by the way, is the 9 in astrology. So there's some more 9 symbolism there. And that really is going to feel like an epic shift also. Actually, three major outer planets actually move into new signs in the same year. That's odd. It's going to feel
that's
like, the Earth is not going to feel recognizable.
uh, that's massive. It's massive,
Yeah.
massive change. But in
And
the
people,
in respect to relationships,
right.
we had been talking about that. Obviously, that's the theme of a show that we have coming up, and the theme of
Yeah.
this show that we have today. But I have, not so coincidentally, no couples who are going through really heavy stuff right now,
Okay.
and two different couples that I know, and one of them, well, they're both in this sort of we love each other, but we're triggering each other. We're having difficulties, with each other. We're taking time out from each other. We miss each other. Then we have a fight when we're together, and then we pull back again, and then we're thinking maybe it's not going to work. But then we have a great time together. Both
Yeah.
couples are going through this very karmic back and forth energy going on. Have you seen anything similar or something unique or different than other than that?
Well, I'm seeing final quits on some things.
Yeah,
Sometimes work stuff too. You
yeah,
know, work partnerships and stuff like that. Um, what I'm seeing is, well, actually, what I'm seeing, I have a different perspective because, my world has been all single for a long time. Like my clients, usually single women who have been, away from men for like 10, 11 years. They could just
wow,
focus on themselves, things like that. And what's
right,
happening is people are starting to get interested in dating again. Like I'm starting to see the engines fire up a little, and
yeah.
people take interest, and a lot of discussion about relationships and what they'll be. Is what I'm seeing. So I'm not seeing people get together, but I'm seeing people suddenly getting back on Tinder and stuff like that. You know
Interesting.
what I mean?
So existing relationships are going through shakeups in some ways,
Mhm.
but
Mhm.
people who have been single for a prolonged period of time are now interested in getting back into the field
Yeah.
and maybe meeting somebody and entertaining the idea of possibly a new person in their life,
Yeah, I
right?
mean, there's a running theory that COVID ruined all marriages in the country. Um, that everyone was stuck at home, and the one thing they learned is they didn't want to be married to that person.
Right.
Um, they saw a lot of truth from all that, anyways. But honestly, the astrology shows that most of our relationships, up until now, were here to help us learn our lessons. And so that the person we're serving as a support person, they're serving as the trigger person. They're serving as the example of who you were in the last life. A lot of times, the person you're married to is what you were in the last life, and
Hmm.
you're like literally married to the old version of yourself. So you can get a good look at what that looked like. So we've come to the end of these karmic cycles. There's nothing else to show. So at this point, the relationships have served their purpose. Many of them have served their purpose. But what's interesting is what you just said. When I do hear people having a struggle, they're not blaming each other and calling them SOBs. They're saying stuff like we each trigger each other. We don't know what to do. It's a much more awakened perspective than the '80s when they were throwing pots and pans.
Right. Well, that's
Like,
because in this generation we're more exposed to spirituality, self-help, psychology, and things of this sort. So we're more apt to say, at least people that are a little bit more well-adjusted or people who've worked on themselves to some degree, we're more apt to say, "Hey, I might be, I might have a part to play in this," and that's really a healthier way of being. But it does mean also that you have to take responsibility for what you attract, right? And I think that's difficult for some people because we can look at the other person and say, oh my gosh, what are they doing? They're doing all these things that bother me or hurt me. But remember, we fell in love with that person. We established a relationship with that person. Maybe we put up with certain things for a prolonged period of time.
mhm.
I just feel like things are coming to a head in many ways. And I think people are ready to sort of, I don't know, shift. And of course, I've always said this, the greatest, psychological lesson. I mean, you can go to a therapist, you can go to a healer, but nothing beats a relationship as far as teaching you about yourself.
Mm. I think to be in my mind, I prefer like relationships are tough. It's interesting. I hear you, and I think that was the old way though. What's interesting is a lot of perspective of relationship is changing. Like people aren't wanting to get married. That's for sure.
Yeah.
That's not on the table anymore ever. I never hear that on the table. I hear a lot of like not polygamy, but just like they're still dating other people forever. Like you it seems it's like the Seinfeld world forever, right?
Yeah.
Where
They call that in my neck of the woods, they have a fancy term for that, ethical non-monogamy,
oh, okay,
right?
interesting.
Yeah. So, it's sort of I think a guy came up with that, a genius guy came up with that,
And
you know.
I can't tell you how many people in my son's generation that I know through my son, who's
Yeah.
28, where there's like it's like a triple thing. Like there's like the girl has a girl on the side,
Yeah.
and the guy has doesn't have one on the side apparently. That's odd too. You know what I mean? Like the girl
Oh
does.
no. Oh, that's happening.
It's
Yeah, for sure.
okay. It's okay that
Yeah.
there's a triple, the third. There's a lot of there's a lot of really out of the box relationship stuff going on with the younger generations. And I'm Gen X. I think for us, we're just like, well, we don't want to die alone. You know what I mean? We're willing to be alone. Our parents got divorced. We didn't want to go through that. I
Oh,
think
I know. I
my
know.
parents,
No, I agree. I agree.
yeah.
Where if
But
you
I'm not
were
sacrificing. I'm not sacrificing. I'm not
no no
going to be
no
unhappy.
no no no. Yeah. I mean, I think at our age, if we hadn't find the one, we may have had relationships that lasted a certain amount of time. But if we hadn't find the one and we're in our age group, if I want to say this, but if you had opportunities when you're younger for romance and you got that out of your system, then you are ready for that partner to kind of grow old with, right? Now, I'm speaking about myself, and I know you're like that as well, But the ideas of getting older and things of this sort, even though we're kind of younger guys in our age group, still you think about it. You think about it, you
Oh
know.
yeah. Oh, I think about it every time I wake up and look in the mirror. I'm like, oh Jesus, we're running out of time. We're running out of time.
Yeah.
But it'll be very interesting. I honestly don't. I'm very interested to see where human relationships go in this next era because I think it's going to be pretty profound, actually. Because I think we're going to see some real, true partnerships, really true partnerships. And one thing that's my third eye has shown me is a lot of people in this next era are getting together to be partners, and they're both partners in some sort of new era mission, right? And this is their favorite person to work with. This is their favorite person to live with, and a lot of favorites where it's just about enjoying each other and having a good time. Now that the karma and the blues are over, when you've gone to hell and back, you're just so grateful just to not have to be there anymore. And so I think we're gonna see a lot of wonderful companionship, and probably really great love. But I don't think we're gonna see like when Harry met Sally stuff anymore.
Well, I've always said that the ideal is because in the work that I do, part of that work, an integral part of that work, is helping people find their higher purpose, their soul purpose.
Sure.
And my belief has always been, in the work that I've done in now exceeding 25 years, right, to find the partner or connect to the partner that's supportive of your life goals, right? I feel that that's extraordinarily important. And I feel like the ideal would be somebody who, can work with you, not necessarily have your same job, but work with you as far as their goals, what they want to see have happen in the world, what they're interested in, what drives them, what they're passionate about. But to have some sort of simpatico like that, where two souls can come together and forward that with each other, I think that's kind of what you're saying. And I think that is really the ideal. And that's, the more you're on, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that tonight, with our guest, because in my view, I always go to the ultimate goal number of the higher purpose, because that tells me kind of where the road to fulfillment, the road to integration, and that plays such a massive role in having the right partner. And so I think you touched on something really important that I'm gonna bring up tonight, with our guest.
Well, one thing is I think I see finally with modern women, and I have to say it's modern women,
Mhm.
is that, and maybe men too, I don't know, but they're realizing that you can get a lot from other people, right? So, for instance, the common thing in our sector is, my man's not spiritual, my man's not spiritual. Should I stay with them? Yes. That's what you have that gay friend for. Like this idea that one person brings everything to us is
Mhm.
finally starting to like let go, because I think that's an unrealistic, period. You don't expect one employee to handle everything in the company, and have every skill trait, So why do we expect our spouse or our partnership to have everything? We can be fulfilled in very close relationships with other people. I think that's, allowing to happen too. I also think that we're relaxing. People, husbands are okay if she's out with some dude, kind of thing. Whereas before that wasn't the case. So I think we're relaxing expectations. But I will say this, just as a final point before we bring on our guest, is that whenever I do astrology charts and I look at compatibility, it's never Mars and Venus. Okay? And that's what the
Yeah.
astrology books would tell you. Astrology books say, oh, Mars, Venus, that's what the attraction is based on. It is always his weakness, her strength. Her
Yeah.
strength, his weakness. Like
Yeah.
magnets, they complete each other in a sense, where one has the juju and the juice the other one needs, and so they both need each other to do well, and it brings the best out of each other. Excuse me. The question has always been, will that last once you learn the lesson? I don't know. Those could
So
be the relationship charts that are going to be breaking up now. I don't know.
that's a really profound topic. We don't really have time to get fully into, because I've looked into that extensively.
Hmm.
If it you have to actualize a certain amount of your own chart within your own life. Although it is true that we tend to attract people that can pick up the slack or be complementary to us in some way. But if we're living through the other person, or the other person is expressing an aspect of ourselves that we haven't fully integrated, the chance of that relationship being healthy or long term goes down to the degree that you do that. So
Yeah.
I agree with you to a certain extent, but there's a balance in all things. And as far as spirituality is concerned, yeah, you don't necessarily have to have your partner be as spiritual as you are. But if you're a very spiritual person, you need a partner that's at least going to respect that and understand that, about you. So, we need to have someone that gets us to a certain degree, right?
There are some core things that have to be the same.
Yeah.
To be honest, I'm not gonna. I would never date anyone that doesn't believe in what I believe in. Not everything I believe in, but fundamentally,
No.
there's possible at least. Or most of the time, it's always been they didn't know nothing about it. Like I was obviously the one to
No.
introduce it to them. I was
Right.
was the one that like gave the vocabulary to it. They didn't necessarily leave believers,
Yeah.
but they didn't leave ignorant. They understood the point of view very well now,
Right.
and through someone's eyes. So that's an interesting aspect too.
Totally.
So, well, tonight we have a guest. I'm going to do a little introduction here. We'll bring him out because we want to hear his story. Our guest tonight is James Porterfield joining us, and he's looking for some guidance on his love life. James has been struggling to put himself out there after being friend zoned. We know that, right, buddy? Multiple times.
Not me.
I know. I guess I'm projecting.
Yeah.
He's been friend zoned multiple times, and his longest relationship so far has been 6 months. Wow. That is short. Yeah. What's really important to know about James is that he's still navigating some tough emotions right now. He's grieving the loss of his mom, who passed away on August 11th, 2023. For the last 10 years, James was her caregiver, and she was the one person who made him feel truly loved and valued. Yeah. James is also working through some deep-seated feelings of unworthiness that stem from his childhood. He was conceived when his parents were separated, and there was a particularly painful moment when he was young that has stuck with him. His dad went on to start a new family, which has added to James' feelings of not being enough himself. Despite all these challenges, James is actively working on himself. He's aware of his short fuse, thanks to his Aries moon, but he's committed to becoming a better person to attract someone special. James is looking for a partner who will bring out the best in him, and he's hoping our astrologer and numerologist can offer some insights and help him on his journey. So I guess without further ado, we bring out Mr. James. Mr. James.
There he
Hey,
is.
buddy.
Hey, what's going on, gentlemen?
Hey, James.
Thanks for coming on, man.
Thank you for having me. I'm grateful.
It's courageous, really. I think it's courageous.
I'm
Definitely.
definitely nervous for sure, but what is it? What is it, Mel?
Don't worry about it. You're in good hands. Trust me. You're in good hands.
Yeah, no, I trust you guys explicitly. Because I know you guys come from the heart, and that's just what I'm about in this new chapter of my life. Learning how to love myself. 40 days of past life and karma is teaching me that.
Oh yeah, that's great.
That I didn't know how. I don't know all the terminology of it yet, but the either the 12th house or Waldemath or Psych, where it was like, in a past life I didn't set up boundaries and like for something, and now this journey is for me to learn how to love myself. So
that sounds like the program. Yeah, and that's a lot of us. I mean, I think
I was about to say you and me both.
I think a lot of us. I think you just hit the number one problem with all relationships, really, James. None of us knew that. We were all using someone else up until this lifetime, to kind of lean on. So don't feel bad about that. You're in good company, Earth. So,
yeah.
So would you just describe real quick, kind of like where you are in this moment? I know we had an open here to talk about it, but from in your own words, where your frustration is, especially the friend zone.
Well, I mean, like in the relationship part, it was just well, I mean, obviously it's clear I was a mama's boy, and my mom was the most important person in my life. And as it was mom and I against the world. They divorced. My parents, finally divorced. So I was just about a year and a half, 2 years old, and then it just, it was mom and I against the world. And so, I don't even know that if I had found someone, and grow in my 20s or 30s, that relationship would have survived me becoming more aware of things in my life and myself. What makes and then the simple fact is, if my mom didn't know how to love herself, this is something she told me, and while I was her caregiver in the last few years, when I got to see her experience true love, that she didn't know how to love herself. David, her love taught her that. And so if she didn't know how to love herself, how would I? How could I have even learned, even though she was unconditionally loving to me? I couldn't have asked for a better mother. She was an example that I want to do my best to embody as I spend my time without her, so that I can leave the legacy that she intended of love. She was a nurse, and I think nurses, for a profession, if it's your calling, I think you're kind of angels walking on earth, because when that's your calling, you're there in a time of need for someone. And so my mom knew how to do that very well, and I've been challenged by that. So
So what you learned was, love is a sacrifice for someone else. Your mom sacrificed for you. And it's a bit of a rescue story there, and that love is outside of you to some degree, not inside of you. I think that's common. But here, begs the question. I mean, there's plenty of girls that don't love themselves. Why weren't you dating them?
I being that I love my mother as much as I had such immense respect for women and the women that I would pursue, that I guess I wasn't maybe the aggressiveness that I needed to be to kind of make them more attracted to me. It seemed like whatever relationship I did, I just kind of fell into, the person connected. Like, I mean, come on, I was the one getting picked up at the party. So,
Oh, by your mom?
No, no, not by my mom. I can remember a girl one time, you know, we were at
Oh, they pick you up. Yeah.
they
Yeah,
picked
yeah.
me. So, and
Yeah.
my mom was such a strong woman that I probably was attracted to that. And I think that if, you know, like, especially going forward, if I'm not that strong person, how am I going to attract that that kind of woman to who's gonna, you know, who's gonna be strong? She's, you know, opinionated, not opinionated, but just inner convictions,
Mm.
you know,
Mhm.
strong inner convictions, understood what just wouldn't take, you know, won't take shit if you
Mhm.
yeah,
But you have to admit, for your mom, that's rare for her, her generation, and growing up, and I think we're the same generation. Yeah, I mean, in our generation, Gen X, it's like the bad guy, the abusive guy, the bad guy. Those are those are the ones that got all the girls, and girls couldn't. They all fell for it, and so that was definitely the case. Not a question. If you were nice, you were friend zoned, for sure. And women needed a friend. So it
All
was a
right,
neat, yeah, it's a needed part.
I got to jump in, my man. I got to jump in. So I, you know, there's a what was it in the Temple of Isis in ancient Egypt? They had on top of the entryway, "Know thyself," right? So, and it's very difficult to know ourselves. It's it's so hard to have the ability to see within, right? It's to get that objectivity. So, I wanted to tell you that as I was listening to you, this interesting dynamic going on in your chart, and I think you're not fully aware of because it's not uncommon when people have sort of a split between two kind of energies and influences that one energy wins out and we disown the other, right? And then we see ourselves, that's not who we are, and we project that self onto others, that part of ourselves. So uh, yes, it's true that you have a 24/6 in the ultimate goal, any six in the ultimate goal, and I know I'm one of them. Strong six energy has self love, self acceptance issues. There may be what we call an idealization of a parent, right? So we see this parent, blah blah blah. Also, we may overgive, help, and support others for love. I call it performing for love, right? And you were trained because you were there to give love to your mother who had difficulties with her own self love, right? So, what a child does is we adapt to the environment, right? So you learned that is how you get love and validation and accept, by giving and taking care of, right? The problem is that you also have a very powerful, actually two of them, 14/5 energy. And this is a part of you that I think you've disowned and you have to integrate.
Mm.
So
oh
Oh,
no.
oh, we lost him. There's something happened there. Well, bring back. God silenced him. I don't know. He's in LA,
I
so.
needed to hear that apparently. They
Oh,
said,
here he is. He's
did I
back.
go?
Yeah, you're
Oh
back.
yeah. I guess that was too fire. See, I'm firing things up right now. Do you feel the electrical energy? So the 14/5 is someone who has a lot of energy and vitality, and they're risk takers, and they travel, and they have a strong sexual drive, and they have a strong libido, and they're not afraid to go and take chances and do this and do that. And some of them, would even say that they're a little bit anti-establishment, and they might, now the negative part of the 59/14/5 is it can be a bit volatile, you know and the volatility and the sharp, to quick to jump to respond to something, right? But understand that if that part's going on, it's because you're not channeling the other part of the 14/5, right? So you're let me just explain something to you. Yes, the six can be a friend zone guy, but not the 14, not the 14. And so you've disowned that part of you. I mean, I have an entire plan for you, but what you have to do is you're going to have to get out of that this learned behavior pattern that you're this guy that's supposed to just be helpful and caring and giving and be this nice guy that sort of the girl looks as more of as a friend, because it's not who you really are inside. You also have another part of you that is very passionate, driven, and it may come out in a frustrating way with anger and anger bursts, but that's because you're not channeling it the right way, right? So I also say that you're a natural healer in your chart. You have a 9 life path, and which is the humanitarian caring, and the 6 is service. But the 14-5 is a very magnetic number. And so a lot of energy healers have the 5 with the 9 because their whole energy field, okay, is very healing. So there's so much you can do in that world. You need to take some chances and get out of your everyday life pattern. And you need to allow yourself to be free. So the first thing I'm going to tell you to do is take a class on Tantra. Okay?
Okay.
Because I want you to connect your healing energy and your spirituality to your libido and your sexuality. Okay? So you have a very strong sexual energy to you. I feel like it's been disowned. But you have a very strong energy, but you're repressing it. So and because you've disowned that part of you, also, look, you had your parents split up and your father took off. He represents the 5, right? So he broke free and then he went off and had this other life and did all this other stuff. So we can subconsciously say, oh, the 5 energy hurt me, right? Breaking free and going off and doing what you want to do is disregard for other people, right? And so because of that, that may have been one of the reasons why you disowned that part of yourself. But you don't have to break free in a hurtful way. You can break free in an invigorating way and share more love with other people, right?
Yeah.
So you should never be sidelined to the friend guy. You know why? Because when you get on this plan, you're going to be like traveling. You're going to be taking tantra classes. You are going to be using your healing energy and sharing that with people with it, and you're spreading your love because you have so much love. And this energy and vitality is and you connecting to yourself is going to start attracting women because 14-5 is one of the most magnetic energies in the entire lexicon of numerology. Okay, so I want to hit this back, Christopher. I want to kind of get his take on this, but I'll come back to you this later. But I want Chris to jump in now and see if there's something that he sees that might be complementary to what I'm seeing here.
Well, it's yes. I mean, a lot of the words you just described, I would agree with. I mean, first of all, the passive thing is he has a very strong organized religion past life. So he's been sitting out from chicks for a long time. So he gave it all up for God in this past life, and he gave everything up. And he gave everything up to worship one man. And so the fact that he's worshiping one woman this lifetime and giving up women is not a surprising thing. It's sort of what he's used to. He's been out of the game for a long time. His other cycle of energy was a lot of military, again, away from chicks for a long time. So with the boys learning how to fight, again, I think channeling his male energy into aggression and things, and not necessarily exploring it. But there's some other things. There's some wounds. I don't know. I don't know if you're so sensitive as much as you are unguarded. You're empathic. You have a very strong empathic field. You can feel everything around you. All the time. So that's an empath sensitivity. But as far as like emotionally, your chart shows you're actually very strong emotionally. You got a moon in Aries at 14 degrees, ironically. So 14 Aries moon. But you have Pluto in the 11th house. So you've always been a part of institutions that you've become a man through an institution. A man through the army, a man through the church. You've never been a self-made man in recent lifetime histories. And so you've always been reliant on something other than yourself to kind of to climb the ladder. And so to some degree, I think you don't feel empowered or have the right to have the right to do certain things, like have the right to have your own business or do this or do that, or walk up to a woman and say, hey, you have just been a polite person waiting for someone else to give permission for a long time. Ultimately is what I see. But the biggest thing, I think, and I'll swing back here, is just that you have been wounded severely for doing the wrong thing. So you have a huge bruise on your ego. So where you just fucked up. And so there is a trepidation to not make a mistake. You hold yourself back out of fear of making mistakes. And so, that plays into being able to pursue, but it's not solely, it doesn't stop there, with women. But you're right, though. The biggest thing is you're step 4 Taurus. So you don't know, you were not born on the side of your own heart. So outside of your own heart means loving yourself, putting yourself first. You don't know that you come first. You do not know that you're special. And I just think that it's not so much being a bad boy, but I think what people want, what people are most attracted to, man or female, is when a person really loves himself. That's really attractive. It's really attractive because they want to feel that. They want to love themselves just as much, and it's sexy and it's hot, and so I don't even know, I really think that, and that's very curable, as far as situations are concerned, and it can go from cold to hot. So, that's my first pass on it. Well, how do you resonate with each of these, James?
It's it's quite illuminating. The with Josh, the 14-5 aspect and the magnetic. I've had people tell me that, like, in private conversations where they're like, when I met you, like when I was struggling and they were trying to talk to me, like, to pump me up, they're like when I first met you, like I saw you, and like there's something about you, like I knew I had to go meet you, and and did I take the compliment or no? I'm like, okay, but I just, it kind of, I didn't accept it. I just kind of, like, I heard it and it just kind of was in one ear and out the other. But sometimes it seems people like me. Like,
More so than you could ever imagine. You don't know, because you're so associated with giving, caretaking, being there for people, being the kind, supportive person, that your brain doesn't even understand what it's like to receive, to be acknowledged, to be seen. So and now look, your mom was this. Sounds like she's very similar to my birth mom. Like a beautiful soul, a beautiful soul. I consider my birth mom an angelic being, and she's probably somewhere on the other side being an angelic being, right? And but you have to understand something. As much as your father is in this storyline, because this is all a matrix, right? Your soul incarnates into this body, and you walk around, you come to this family, right? So your father's like the Darth Vader here, because he took off and left poor mom, who's this wonderful, beautiful soul, and he's bad, and look what he did, right? But I want you to understand something. There is an energy that you have to allow yourself to reconnect to and not see it as a bad energy. And that is this magnetic, powerful, transformational energy that you have. You're here to tear things down, right? You're here to tear things down and revolutionize. Do you know that? That you're here to be a transformational figure, to break the old ways and bring new ways of thinking, and do that in a healing, helpful way. See, you're actually a very dynamic person. But again, you had to disassociate that, because anything having to do with going off and being free and was associated with Darth Vader. And so you had to disown that part of yourself. You see? But remember, at the end, Darth Vader, and Luke kind of like, they hooked it up. They worked it out. You're going to have to make up with Darth Vader in you and see it as not Darth Vader.
I think it's self-love. I think the magnetism that he's talking about is self-love. I honestly do. I mean, like a musician, for instance, has magnetism. I mean, don't you think, Josh, in that moment, that musician's just fucking loving the music and just loving that moment and just feeling the music? To me, that's the magnetism you might be pointing towards. It's just like to enjoy yourself. You can't tell people who like you, because you don't know what you don't know if you like you. You don't know what that looks like, right? Kind of thing. And that might be because you haven't taken the time just to look or appreciate, a little bit. Your chart says that you do not take the time to love yourself. You take no time and space to love yourself. So, and you take no time and space to listen to your intuition. Those two. So, and the easy fix there is you have to just, and we do this at Serious Joy, you have to like set an alarm, put it on your calendar, and force yourself to do it. You have to. That's the only way around it. You should do the 40 days of self-love over the summer. And, that we have our program, because that one really has you journal, and you'll see exactly all the places, every single place that you let your heart down. It'll all be listed for you in your journal, and you can learn it. This is stuff you can learn. I mean, we have people who entered like you and left feeling amazing and finding their partnerships too. So self-love is a practice. And when I started self-love, I channeled the lessons from my guides, but I was bitter and angry the whole time. so angry that I had to do this stupid program. And here I am channeling the program I have to do. So you'll find that the anger is your child inside of you that's pissed off that you've not done anything fun or anything cool at all, and he's had enough of it. Like our heart has a life of its own. So when you have a lot of rage and a lot of anger, it's almost always the inner child pissed off at you, not the world. You're a shitty babysitter.
Yep.
Why aren't we having any fun? Kind of thing, which is okay. He'll forgive you, but it take a while for him to trust.
Yeah, and then it's like, and what you shared, with the 40 days of past life and karma, because I've been blessed to connect with a group of people, and we walked through the 40. I listened to the pep talks and stuff from the 40 days of self-love. I was still challenged that time, and like this time, I'm going through the full days, and I'm at least listening to the questions, because last year I did it and I learned I was a Sagittarius, and I came on Show Your Serious Joy, and I asked you, I never should have asked this question because I would have pushed myself a little more. I was like, can I take a break? And you said yes. And I'm like, okay. And, never came back. But it's just, I don't know how to, boundaries are one of the things. In fact, the card that got pulled for me today in the group was, was about boundaries. I don't remember the exact phrasing of it, but it was like, she's like, oh, this is for you. And it's just like, boundaries and the self-belief and those things are,
Well, I've got some advice for you, because being a double six, right, and my ultimate goal number, the concept of self-love has been a big issue for me, really trying to understand that and integrate that into my life, right? So the first thing I can tell you is doing what you love is an act of self-love.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Mm-hmm. So if we can allow the Vader-esque energy, which is the explorer, the risk taker, the magnetic guy who's very magnetic and draws people to him. People are magnetized to you. If you can allow that energy to come through and as a channel to say, okay, I'm going to channel some of that energy to something that I'm really passionate about, right? Women fall in love with men who are doing what they want to do and are passionate about it or successful at it. It's not about your status in life. Women are attracted to men that are really directed towards their goals and are going after it. And that is an act of self-love, to do what you love, right? So some sixes are more aesthetic and artistic, and they'll be more in the arts, and some are more into service and healing and helping. I always say do both, but you should become more, allow the passion to come through you. You became a bit docile because you became this caretaker energy, right? But I assure you, as God is my witness, in your chart, you have another side of you that you've disowned, and it is not docile. It's quite fiery, magnetic, and masculine, and it's who you are. That is a part of your identity. And so you need to get in touch with that. So we need to do a tantra class. We need to sit there and hone our energy healing skills, because you should start doing that. You should talk about that. Women would love a guy who's in touch with their emotions and their sensitivities, but who've got fire and passion going on at the same time. That's a deadly combination, my friend. I don't think you realize how attractive you can be to the right kind of women, but you're going to have to get out of, I'm the nice guy that's here just to help. You're here to help. One of the biggest mistakes that everyone makes with their ultimate goal is they play out their ultimate goal on a personal level instead of on a vocational level. And this goes for Chris and it goes for me, because we're all in the healing professions. And that is, when we get into a connection with somebody, we want to heal them, we want to help them, we want to serve them, right? Because that's a part of our dharma, our higher purpose. But that is not what you should be doing on a personal relationship level. You should be starting a career in energy healing, arts and creativity, and then communications, and speaking from your heart, which I think is very attractive quality to you. And you need to communicate that. Your chart says that you're communicating on a more public level. That's right. That's right. What I said, whether you like it or not, that's what's in your chart. I've got over 20,000 sessions under my belt. I know I'm right. That's a part of who you are. And and you know what? If you get out of your head about how good I am and if I'm enough and all these very six things, and don't worry, I've suffered from that in my one way or another in different points of my life, right? If you get out of that and you live passionately in the now, you meditate and learn to live in the now, and you just give your love in a passionate way to the world. Oh boy.
It's,
Mm.
it's
I
Oh
think
boy.
I think it's a play date there. What you haven't done because of this military background and this priest background. I mean, literally military and priest, is you haven't gotten to know yourself. You don't know what you like. You don't know what you don't like. You don't know. If I sat there and asked you for what you want for your birthday, I'd be sitting there forever. You have no clue. You haven't. Where you just have always been devoted and responsible. And this is where, guys, we can make fun of the guys who screw off, but this is what they got on us. Like when you take time to play and you take time to know yourself, play is like the most important self-learning thing there is as a kid. And you were very serious and responsible. Energetically, you always have been. Now that serious, responsible Aries energy, we're talking Venus, Mercury, Mars, Moon. That's the fire that Josh is referring to. There is plutonium underneath there once it ignites. But it has to take time and space. I also agree with Josh. If you are loving this, like I'm loving this salad, you're loving yourself. You're in love right there. You're in love right there. You're in a state of love. Loving yourself is to be putting into a state of love. That is the highest form of self-love there is. Do things that you love. It's a super simple formula. And why do I have to talk you into it? Do things you love. If it's one thing, once a day. Is what we say in the self-love program. Once a day, you have to do something you love. You can't just be like on Sundays, one Sunday a month. And what you do is you have to ask yourself for something else you love and start to experiment to see if you love this or you love that. And then, again, I agree with Josh. It's like doing something in life that you love, a career pursuit that you love is also a way a lot of men actually get this built. That's me. I didn't play. I had a business. I've been on the path of my heart's dreams, what my heart wanted my whole life. I didn't play. I didn't do that shit. I didn't have time for sandbox and stuff like that. I had a business to do, but I love it. I love it and it feeds me. Some people are like, you work too much. I love it. Don't tell me not to do it. So you will learn how to love yourself by just starting with the things you do love to do. And then, believe it or not, guess what? Guess where you meet the woman? Doing one of those activities. You're going to meet her on the path. You're going to meet her when you're playing racquetball. Whatever these things you love, you're going to find a woman who also loves that. In that vicinity. If nothing else, you'll archetype model the kind of woman you want because you're like, wow, wouldn't that be cool if I was playing with my girl right now, right? So that's the other thing about pursuing your heart. You will find like-hearted people, and you can experiment with love, just like love being with these people. I love hanging out with them. I don't want to date any of them, but I love them. And the more love you start adding to your life, the more you'll heal. Your courage will go through the roof. I mean, when you're in love. Men think they can fly. You know what I mean? Like, so the courage is there. The strength is all there, but it takes daily practice of loving yourself, and I would put it on your put it on your phone, make a love date every day.
Okay.
Now,
Yeah.
I got a question for you.
Yes.
I don't know. How good are you? How good is your memory?
Sometimes it's good. It all depends on the scenario.
Mine's not that great. So I wanted to ask you about 2 years. So, and when I bring up the year, it could have started the fall preceding, but 2012.
Okay.
Actually 2011 and 2012, and then 2020, 2021.
Well, 2011, 2012, I was kind of going through a phase where I just really didn't want to live.
Okay.
I'd lost a job that I really loved in 2008, and the market crashed from the housing and everything like that. I could get on again, and so I was 11 and 12 were pretty dark years for me. I basically just sat in my room.
Okay, you were feeling poor about your life and unhappy where you were.
Oh, yes.
Okay, and then in 2015, going into 2016, was there some sort of a move or shift in your life, or you did some
That,
healing and you made some changes, that kind of thing?
um, not not too much. That was actually right around the time my mother was first diagnosed with her first bout. So it was
Mm.
right in there. I can't
So
remember the.
that brought up a lot of deep stuff in you, obviously, right?
Oh yeah,
Okay. Okay, now 2020, 21, the other cycle.
that was that was my awakening years where I just, COVID shutting me in, everything stopped, and I couldn't go do anything. That I just started looking and reading things that I had been putting off for years, and all of a sudden, just I don't know, something happened, and I just was like, "Oh my God, the world we live in is so much different than I thought," and just kind of little bit of I'd call it a little going crazy. At least that's how my mom described it. And
Mhm.
then a lot of the stuff that I was like processing, because she was really a sounding board for me that allowed me to process a bunch of stuff.
Right.
And she goes, James, I thought you were batshit crazy right around that time frame. And then all of a sudden, the stuff you started to say started coming true, and I'm like, okay. And so yeah, no, it was. God, if I didn't have that support system that my mom gave me, I don't know where I'd be right
All
now.
right, so I picked cycles that correlated to your ultimate goal number, which is the most difficult numbers in the chart.
Okay.
Okay,
Mm.
you're a 5-6 combination, and that period in between was your 9 cycle, which can be transitional, but it can also bring up things you need to heal. I went to those cycles because I wanted to see what you attracted and how you responded to it, right? Because I think now, particularly after 2024, right now we're in 2025. I think there's a new you coming through. You're actually literally in a 1 cycle, which is literally a new beginning of a 9-year cycle. Like you've literally just you're there's some final stuff in the next few months, but that you're clearing out. But by mid-year, which is like June, by mid-May, June, you're in this new cycle, right? And something else, the cycle that you're going into next year, which is not that far away, because usually by the fall we pick up on it. Two things are happening. One is my research shows that's a time when people shift into higher purpose, which is phenomenal news because it shows that the sessions we're having and other things that you're doing is inspiring you to get into your passion, right?
Mhm.
And the other thing is it is a known love cycle. It is a time when I see people meeting people and connecting to them. And what I really want to do is get Chris what he says about the timing, because I do believe there's someone coming for you by the end of this year, but really it really takes off more so next year in that cycle. But it is a cycle that I've seen time and time again can attract a love connection. So really, it's a powerful cycle coming up. You're shifting into higher purpose and your passion and moving towards that, and you're phasing out this last 9-year cycle, which ended in December. But remember, 9 cycles don't end in December. They carry, I call it carrying your 9 into the 1. You're still tying up some loose ends here, but I do feel that there's someone coming for you, and I think it's what Chris and I have been talking about. You're doing your passion, you're doing what you love, which is an act of self-love, and you are loving yourself enough to follow your own pursuits. You're allowing the Vader to come through, but the kind Vader. You're taking chances. I see you traveling. I think you need to go on a. I think you need to travel alone and go somewhere on an adventure and find yourself. And I think you need to start thinking about how I can communicate my higher feelings to others. But I really want to hear what Chris has to say, what he sees in timing, because I think he might be seeing something similar to me. I don't know, but let's hear what he has to say, Chris.
Well, he's actually right now in the middle of a marriage transit. So it starts with relationships, and it starts with the relationship to yourself, and that's the phase you're in right now. So Jupiter is in his 7th house of
Wow.
marriage relationships. So like you, Josh, and so he is learning about himself and the parts of himself that are that attract or don't attract, right? And the parts of himself, because astrology comes from the premise that the way you treat yourself is the way you'll be treated, believe it or not. It's not do unto others as how you want to be treated. It's do unto yourself as how you want to be treated. And you may go, well, I know a bunch of jerks, so they don't seem to be, having any problems. No, they're treating themselves, a certain way on the inside, and that's why they're getting some idiots, who don't care at all, treat themselves like gold, even though they're assholes, and part of the French, and because they treat themselves like gold, even though they're narcissists, they get treated like gold. If you wonder how a narcissist gets treated like gold, it's because that person is treating himself like gold in the background all the time. So you can be completely evil and treat yourself well and get cool relationships by the law of attraction. So you're learning now, how to relate to yourself, and how to bring the best out of yourself. And honestly, the universe will not know the type of person to bring to you if you don't know how to partner with you. If you can't partner with yourself and be the perfect partner to yourself, basically your mom taught you how to love yourself. That's what she did. But you are giving her all the credit for being the one and only who can do it. The reason why she sacrificed the entire life doing that was so that you can learn this once and for all and learn by her example. And basically, if you were my client right now, I'd say, treat yourself like your mom treated you. Everything she did for you, everything she said to you, if you were sad, what did she say? If she did this, what did she say? You got to just implement that behavior with yourself right now. You have every answer you ever need to do. There's really no excuse to say you don't know. No excuse. And so if you don't practice, well, then you don't care. It's not about love. You don't care. That's a different thing, right? Caring and loving are different things, right? You may not care. In fact, so and if that's the case, well, then you can't complain. You know what I mean? Like, if you're not going to care. So it all stacks. Now, here's what happens. It's going to happen very quickly because you're so behind that, believe it or not, when people are this far behind, others are resisting. And to some degree, I just want to say, I know you loved your mom, but it's not very loving to sit there and let yourself sit in a dirty diaper all the time. And that's the expression we use at Serious Joy. It's like, if you let yourself feel bad, you're letting the baby sit in a dirty diaper. You're not changing the diaper. Baby's going to get a rash. It's like, it's not a nice thing to do. It's not a loving thing to do. Yes, I know you can feel sad, but it's not nice to do to your kid, to your inner child, to keep bringing up this pain and reliving it and reliving it and reliving it. It's not nice. It's not sweet. It's not loving, right? And doesn't love her any less. We don't have to be punished. We don't have to punish ourselves to love another person, right? So I'm sure she's hell doesn't want to see it, see you suffering. So it's also, it's bumming her out too. You know what I mean? Like, but as soon as you turn that frown upside down and you start treating yourself the way your mom treated you, you're going to find that you become very attractive. I mean, you're going to draw in a lot of attention very quickly because it's overdue. And I think that's part of the energy that Josh's talking about. So next year, it's about trust and intimacy. And the thing about a trust and intimacy transit is you can't do that one alone. You have to have a partner, a dance partner. So you most certainly you're going to start drawing in at least teachers, okay? And you have to be willing to say, don't glom onto the first one that comes because you're going to have a lot of spiritual teachers that come and help you, and they're gonna teach you the lesson and they're going to go. That's how it usually works with my clients. They don't stick around for the whole thing because that's what they do for a living. Like spiritually, they teach people stuff. So you have some woman that teaches how to dance, and someone that teaches how to say no, and be okay with that because you have a lot of catching up to do. But you're leading towards intimacy, and intimacy is into me I see. So you have to see yourself intimately to be able to share yourself intimately with someone else, and that's the first stage of it. But yes, you have Jupiter in the 8th house. You will be intimate. It's kind of your guarantee.
Right. So now that's what's coming, right? And
Oh, yeah.
I'm assuming that's coming next year, right? After Jupiter passes through the 7th house, right?
Yes. I mean, the beginning of it, I think, is not roses.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, I think it's scary. But yes.
Yes, but
2027, it wraps up and graduates.
but that makes sense though, because when you start becoming intimate again, because it's been a time for you, it's going to be a little bit. You probably be a little bit reticent, and it might bring up some stuff in you getting close to someone and sharing again. Totally normal. That is not anything you need to get down on yourself. You're getting back into sharing and connecting to someone, and that's a little scary at first, and that's totally normal. But I got to tell you something. You don't realize that once you start to bring forward the other part of yourself that has been disowned, right? Two things are going to happen. One is that you're going to have several people attracted to you, not just one. And because 14.5 is a magnetic energy, and it's also a energy that isn't necessarily limited to one person. Now, the 6 likes to commit to someone. The 5 is not as gung ho about it, and I'm looking down the line after Jupiter's gone in your 8th house, after you've gone into this 3811, which is a known cycle that can bring love, connections, and sharing and things of this sort. You might realize that there's a part of you that isn't necessarily overly loving of a committed relationship, and this is as you start to bring this other side of you. Now, I'm not saying that your 6 isn't going to win out and you're going to solidify a committed relationship. I'm saying that once you start becoming free in your soul, and the 5 can come through and it's not disowned, you will see that you need a little bit more of an unconventional relationship where there's more freedom there. Now think about this. You've got 9 trillion planets in Aries, right? Aries is a sign related to people that do their own thing. They're headstrong, they're aggressive, they're pursuing their goals. Once you start to bring that forward, right, and you connect to that, you're going to find that that you're going to have more options than you thought, and you also will. Freedom is going to be more important to you because you're going to realize how this freedom energy is invigorating to you. So that's something that you'll have to confront later on when you start to integrate these other parts of yourself, right?
And that's the fear of intimacy too. I just say that. The fear of intimacy. There's a fear of intimacy because, believe it or not, you say you want it, but when it comes and you suddenly realize you've not had anything vulnerable or threatening happen to you ever, no one could ruin your life by saying they don't love you anymore. It's kind of a scary moment. But we actually are out of time. We have to wrap up. And so in this last moment, I just want to give James an opportunity to ask a question. If it's something that we haven't answered, something we can answer for you.
No, I just this has been so illuminating, and it's just funny how Josh says like energy healing stuff because I'm level 4 certified in something called white time healing, and then in February of 2024, I got certified as a breathwork detox facilitator, and so I've been very recently, especially with having to figure out how to earn money and everything on my own. Sorry, and that I'm gonna I want to start to put something together where I use my energy healing, the breath work, and then work in some fascial maneuvers that I learned from Human Garage, because I think all of those things in conjunction could be very powerful together.
Wow. Extraordinary. You're going to be quite successful, my friend, and you're going to magnetize a lot of people. And what you're going to do is when you get into that energy and you bring that forward, you're going to transform. You're here to break new ground in what you do. You're going to create an innovative system, innovative system, something new and different. And your whole life is going to change when you get out there and you own that on a more public stage in front of groups, and you share that. It's going to change everything for you. I'm very excited for you. I see your whole life changing in the next year. I really do.
And
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
I think yeah.
That last little bit where you said public speaking, I keep getting in my breath work to share your journey, share your story, and I keep pushing it down. So I guess I gotta stop ignoring the call.
It's not very loving.
Break free, my friend.
Yeah,
you've done your karma. Break free.
Thank you, gentlemen. I don't have a questions because you guys, I'm just going to have to go back and watch this a few more times to absorb everything. So thank you for everything. I'm grateful. I'm so appreciative. Thank you for everything you do for us at Serious Joy. Chris, Josh, this has been so informative. I know very little about numerology, but I need to kind of wow, that was mind blowing. So.
Well, thank you. Thank you for coming on. You have to come on when there's a change. Let our producers know, when there's a change. It'd be fun to talk to you in that next stage.
For sure.
We'll bring you back on and talk about it. Yeah.
Bye, James.
Take care, man.
Peace be the journey.
Yeah. And he's gone. Oh, it was good, though. I think it was good. It was interesting the first time we've done something like that. It didn't turn out the way I thought it would turn out.
How so?
Oh, no. I just mean the sense of, it was deep. It was, heavy. not in a bad
Yeah.
way, but just, it wasn't like bachelor number one, your turn ons are, like we weren't like, it wasn't problem solving. Like, why can't I find someone? It was, the core issue of life, that was presented there, expressing itself in loneliness, but self-love is it.
Well, I think it's because of him. He's a deep guy, you know. He's a heartfelt.
It was a
He's
good
a
episode.
kind.
Nothing wrong with it.
Yeah, he's a heartfelt kind, and I appreciate that people.
Oh,
Um,
totally. Hmm.
all my friends, all my guy friends, and some of them, were pretty masculine, girl chasers when we were younger and all that. But I don't have any friends that don't are not in touch with their heart. Male friends who can express themselves and who can get deep. you know,
Hmm.
and I appreciate that in a guy. And I think those are good qualities. And I don't want to speak for all the amazing women that are watching right now, but I would suspect that some of them appreciate those qualities in a man. I do. I
Oh,
suspect
yeah.
that. You know.
Many do.
Yeah.
I think a lot of those women are waiting for him to walk over there and say hi.
Exactly.
They're waiting. That's the thing. It's his thing. It's not their thing. I think that tons of women who are attracted to him, tons. But some women, if you're a gentleman, like he clearly is, they're waiting for you to walk over and say hi. You know what I mean? Like,
Absolutely.
yeah, kind of thing. So, anyways, this is a good one. We'll have to do another one like this. We'll do another show about love. Until we love ourselves enough to kickstart our own show, and then we'll go from there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought it was a great show. I felt like he needed to hear what we had to say.
Oh yeah.
And
Agreed.
I think this guy, I think he's well on his way. I definitely think we should check back with this guy at some point.
Yeah.
And I think the audience, I don't want to speak for everyone, but I do believe that there's a significant amount of the audience who wants to hear what happens to him if he follows his heart, does these things, and meets a special person, and what happens.
You open up on the couch. He's in a triple. There's 3 women there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
All right. Well, this is a fun show. I liked it. And Josh and I'll be back with this special edition, and we're going to be spinning the show off eventually for other for purposes. And we'll have to see other issues with love. We want to help people come into their hearts and find love. And I got to just say this. My last statement to the world is, to all my female clients who think that the issue is there's not enough men. I'm sorry. James here has just demonstrated the core issue. It's like, if you don't work on yourself, if you can't find the love of your life, you're not working on yourself. You're not working on yourself. And you're stuck in the problem, but you're not working on yourself. Because as soon as you work on yourself, you will see immediate feedback from the universe. And so many of my clients just do not want to hear that. They do not want to hear that. So I just had to just kind of reiterate it this one time. It's like, this is why it's not happening. You're going to stay in that cycle until you work on yourself. So, which is to love yourself. All right.
Wise words, my friend. Wise words.
Thank you. I should probably try to put into practice myself. Yeah, totally. Well, Josh, it's been a pleasure, man. We'll see you next time.
Likewise.
And we'll see everyone watching next time. Thanks to our audience. We love you. Live, love, be.